The interesting thing to me about Captain America in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes is that even by the end, he still seemed a man out of time. You look at the most culturally pervasive version of this character, that is MCU Captain America, and by the end of that character's run he felt fully adjusted to the modern world. The Cap we see in Endgame, I mean, you wouldn't know if you just bumped into him on the street that he was a man from the age of gramophones, living in the world of tomorrow. But this is different in Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Maybe it's because it only got 2 seasons, #SaveTheYosverse. But throughout the show, we see Cap remain this ultra-stylized, blast-from-the-past figure. And to me, that's one of the most engaging parts about his character, how he adjusts to and deals with this new world, while retaining a hold on his essential virtues. Because Captain America's real power isn't his super strength or his shield, it's his strength of character. His spirit is unbowed, even when physically defeated, and we see this pretty clearly in Powerless.
We have to keep moving. We can't risk placing civilians in jeopardy.
Plus, they probably have a better shot at taking down the baddies than you guys do at this point.
Interestingly, idealism as the key part of this character, though, is a truth which extends beyond this depiction, and beyond fiction, in fact. Captain America's origins lie in World War II, as a piece of war propaganda. Good war propaganda, though, I guess, because, it was raising money against the Axis, because he was used to sell war bonds. This was an important part of this character's history, to the point where it was lampshaded in the first Avenger.
We all know this is about trying to win the war. We can't do that without bullets and bandages, tanks and tents. Now that's where you come in. Every bond you buy will help protect someone you love.
In real life, this idealism was more explicitly politically charged, as in it was a liberal and violent anti-fascist drive. But since this is a cartoon, we don't really get this sort of praxis here. Instead, the aspirational, essential quality to this Cap seems to just be a drive to put others before himself, to use his gifts to protect teammates and innocents, and we see this a number of times throughout EMH. Interestingly, this selflessness is accompanied by a natural talent for leadership, which again we see over and over. For instance, in the episode Prisoner of War. This is the one where Cap joins up with a motley crew of kidnapped humans to escape Skrull captivity. There seems to be an interesting contradiction here. How can one be so selfless, yet step so easily into leadership roles? I think it's because this Cap leads without any ego. It's never about him, never about proving anything to anyone. It's always about using his strategic talent and his concern for others in the best way he can. The leadership Rogers displays, time and time again, is always born of the thought, how can we solve this problem as quickly and safely as we can? We'll come back to this strength of character, but for now, okay, whatever, Captain America always tends to be a good leader. Nothing particularly new there, but for the time being, let's go back and consider this man out of time dynamic and how it's handled, how Earth's Mightiest Heroes has him adjust to the present day, and how he manages to do this and keep intact these things which drove him in his previous life, in the face of such a seismic change to his world. In retrospect, it's less surprising that Captain America came out of the ice still willing to protect others and able to lead. We see again and again that these things are in Rogers' very essence, springing up in other moments when he's stripped of his familiar surroundings, abilities, or companions, like the aforementioned episodes Powerless and Prisoner of War. The surprising part is that he so quickly adjusts psychologically, that he's able to function and live in a world so alien, and that almost without missing a beat, he's able to step into a new life with the Avengers. Because in the real world, it often doesn't go like this. I think the closest real equivalents to Cap's 70-year nap are the experiences faced by coma survivors or real-world prisoners of war. An article in the Irish Times talks about a woman named Brona, who survived a coma which lasted for weeks. And coincidental rhyming name aside, the most interesting thing about this story is, while she was initially pretty chuffed about, surviving, soon afterwards came something the article calls the come down, a difficult time caused by the lack of significance or meaning she'd gained from her coma. For some other coma survivors, the illness became part of their personal journey, leading them to find religion or happiness. But for people like Broner, who didn't have any sort of epiphany, the coma remained a traumatic event. And not just one without significance, but one whose meaninglessness and absurdity actively damaged her mental health and sense of self. It's a similar story with the POWs. This article from History.net notes that after the Vietnam War, two of the most common things causing deep distress to liberated prisoners of war, alongside, physical injuries, were the reunion with a family that had changed significantly during the absence of the husband/father, and their introduction to a society that did not exist prior to captivity. From the moment of captivity, the POW's known world ceased to exist. He had not been part of an evolving society in the United States, nor a participant in events there as they were occurring. Many POWs were unable to emotionally, psychologically, or intellectually accept what they were told. When they tried to enter their old lives, this only became more and more difficult, with many diagnosed as having a psychotic disorder or a severe non-psychotic mental disorder. You probably know where I'm going with this, but these people were imprisoned away from their societies for somewhere under a decade. Now scale that up sevenfold, and it's a wonder Captain America's life after his defrosting wasn't just another 50 years doing the SB-129 in a padded room. But he doesn't. We see him struggle a bit, and part of his identity going forward remains firmly rooted in his original time period. But comparatively, that's a W, surely. And it's all because he finds new meaning. This may sound obvious, but I mean it literally. He searches for it and finds a new significance to his life, a new place and a new family to lead and defend. And this reveals a crucial detail about this Captain America. He changes, and that isn't always the case. To go back to the MCU, it's been said about this Captain America that the interesting quirk with his stories is that he doesn't change, not really, and the drama in his stories comes from his unchanging ideals coming into conflict with a changing world. I think this rings true, at least for Winter Soldier and Civil War, and it obviously stops with Endgame when he throws in the towel to get some sweet 40s Strange. But this isn't the case for EMH Cap, and this becomes clear when we compare him with one of his arch enemies, Baron Zemo. Before Cap gets thawed, Zemo is living his best life. He's breaking out of the raft to try and regain control of Hydra from Baron von Strucker. But the moment he hears of Steve's return, he abandons his life, his goals, because this decades-old feud is more important to him than all of that.
Where are you going?
You can have Hydra, Wolfgang.
What are you going to do, Zemo?
I'm going to destroy Captain America.
It's been an entire lifetime since he last saw all Blue Eyes here, but from this point onwards he is driven solely by revenge, trying to kill Cap first and then the Avengers. So Zemo is stuck in the past, more so even than Captain America, and he doesn't have the excuse of being frozen the whole time either. By comparison, we see Captain America's ideas, opinions, and judgments all shift at times, changed by new experiences or new people. Despite his initial dejection, he becomes convinced that there is a place for him today, with the Avengers. In the episode Along Came a Spider, we learn that Captain America has chosen his strategy for coping with his new situation, that is, a world in which everyone thinks he's a traitor, by taking notes from Spider-Man, a 17-year-old kid.
And I heard their stories about how you saved lives, how you never asked for recognition, or reward, or even thanks. It doesn't matter what the newspapers say, or the politicians, or the whole world. The truth will come out, but until then, I'm going to keep fighting, just like you do.
And as I alluded to earlier, the episode Prisoner of War sees him put aside his differences for the time being, with a bunch of random villains, including Madame Viper, Lieutenant of Hydra, to serve the common good and protect the kidnapped innocents. This is a tricky moral choice, but Cap rightfully chose this course of action because he has an awareness that times and situations change, and that sometimes the best way of staying true to yourself and your virtues is to keep an open mind. I mean, do you think Zemo would have done the same thing here if he'd been kidnapped along with Cap? No, he'd have killed him and then died himself in a Skrull jail cell as a result. So how does Captain America, the man out of time, deal with change? Well, a comparison with Zemo shows us that Captain America deals with change by changing himself, or at least remaining open to it, not shutting himself off. And he doesn't change fundamentally, but he manages to become a part of a completely alien world with remarkable speed, all because of his strength of character, and we've seen that in real life, this is no easy task. So that's my character analysis of Steve Rogers. Impressive paradigm of moral virtue that he is. That is depending on your views on the connectivity of the Yostverse, because if he lives in the same world as Wolverine and the X-Men, I don't think we can really call him that. But you'll have to come back in a few days to find out why that is, because I've got a video coming out soon looking at just how dark that show's setting really is. Until then, I've made similar videos to this one on both Ant-Man and the Wasp in EMH, and I'll start work on another Earth's Mightiest Heroes character analysis when this one hits 1,000 likes, so if you want to speed that along, you better smash that like button. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.